Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming again with us. You're you're here now. We're getting to go on an exciting journey with cooking with Carrington. I am Chef Carrington, and you're going to be cooking with me. In this particular episode, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're not going to do a lot of cooking. We're going to be spotlighting ourselves on entertaining. So, with entertaining, we're going to be doing what we call a charcuterie board. So charcuterie board is kind of this new wave, new exciting menu item that a lot of restaurants have added. For me, it's very old. Charcuterie boards started back in the 1500s. They were big in the 50s and the 60s here in American cuisine, and again around the early 80s, and then it faded out, and now here we go back again. So it's the same old saying, what's old is new, and what's new is old again. So with the charcuterie board, as I was coming up in the culinary field about 30 years ago, it was called a meat and cheese board. But charcuterie sounds so much better. So now it's a charcuterie board, and it's elevated from just meat and cheeses to we add fruits to it. You can add crackers and nuts and anything you want to the board. That's the great part about it, because it is definitely based on your own particular taste buds, but it's great for enjoying with friends or family members. It's really something you can do. It can be as simple as a couple slices of cheese and a couple slices of meat, or something as elaborate for maybe 100, 200, 300 people, where you have, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of cheeses and, 8, 9 types of meats. So as much as you want, as big as you can make it. So the great part about it, you come home on a Friday evening after a long week at work. You know what? You want to have a little bit of a little nosh and a little bit of spirit to get you going. You can call a friend up, or even by yourself. The board we're going to make today is probably going to feed about 4 people. You can actually do a board that can feed just you. To go along with this, we are actually going to be talking about a wine. So we're going to do what we call a wine flight. That's another, new thing in the culinary world of beer flights, wine flights, margarita flights. Everything is a flight. But all flights mean is that it's just a group of like items together. A group of birds flying is a flight of birds flying. It's a group of birds flying, so that's considered a flight. So right now we're going to do a wine flight, and we're actually going to do just 3 different wines that are going to give you just a little bit of an idea of wine without being too pretentious. Wines do not have to be sedity. You don't have to be, I got to have a red wine with red meat and white wine with fish, and I can't have this wine with that. Let me tell you, as a member, I had won a scholarship years ago to the New York City Sommelier Society. Learned a lot about wines. Well, the main thing that I did learn was I can drink wine whatever I like. It didn't matter what it was. It's just my particular taste buds. If I wanted to drink a heavy Merlot with a flounder, that's my prerogative, like Bobby Brown said. So you don't have to follow any particular format or any particular just a set of, oh my gosh, that's not the right thing. You can't be having red wine with fish and chicken. Not true. And just to give a basis on that, they say that, but coq au vin, which is the most classical French chicken dish, is made with red wine. So that eliminates all that other stuff right there. So Escoffier said, hey, you know what? I can put red wine with chicken. I can drink red wine with chicken then. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk a little bit more about wines and about charcuterie boards. So the charcuterie board, and like I said, it started in about the 1500s. Charcuterie translated from French to English, in all intents and purposes, just means charred flesh. Okay, charred flesh. And what they did for a charcuterie board, they took the pieces of back in the day would have been pork. Now they do it with beef, different kinds of animals, and they created different sorts of salamis and sausages. They added spices and seasonings. You can find sausage in any cuisine throughout the world. Doesn't matter, because we have everything from You can do, your simple, what we're going to do today, we're going to do our Genoa salami, which is one of my favorite salamis. It's called Genoa. It's an Italian, and it's made, has a little bit of green peppercorns in it, and a lot of flavor, a lot of spices. And then we're going to stay in the Italian vein, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a little bit of pepperoni. Everybody knows pepperoni because it goes on a pizza, but pepperoni didn't necessarily start on a pizza. It started as a sausage there. So that's your pepperoni. But then we're going to do something, and for the people here in the Southwest, it might be a little change, a little different for them. We're going to do something called chorizo. And here in Texas, people know chorizo as this fine ground paprika-based sausage meat that they use in everything from breakfast to dinner, in tacos and burritos and everything else. But classically, the chorizo comes from Portugal, and it was actually made into a paprika-based salami, and it was encased. The casing that we use most of the time, that they still use, is from pigs or some other animals' linings. So what the chorizo, it has a wonderful, wonderful flavor. And as the salami, it has a great texture. As a used in ground up, it's a little bit like a ground beef here in the Southwest. So that was just something I just wanted to educate and elevate, to let people know that chorizo is not just a ground up sausage. It is actually, you can get them from the Portuguese or the Spanish based, and they have a wonderful, wonderful flavor. We can use sausage, you can use cacciatorino, you can use sopressata, you can use lambrusca. You can even, if you want on your deli board, you can use hard salami if you like. You basically, you want to use a cured meat. So you can use prosciutto, you can use anything you like. That is the greatest part about this dish here. You can use anything that you like. It is so in tune to the person that's making it and the people that are going to eat it. No rules, no regulations, just what you like. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to slide over and we're going to look at a couple wines. And again, I tend to, I know about wines and things, normally drinking red wines is a developed palate, as they say. And then you go from, everything from, a Cabernet or Syrah or all the way up to a Merlot, which is a stronger, simple burgundies and things like that. Me particular, if I'm drinking a red wine, I want to drink a red wine that is just nice, light, and fruity. If I'm going to sit down at night, just have a good, crisp glass of wine, and I want a red, just a nice fruity red. And you can look at, when you go to your store, you can just look at bottles of wine. They don't have to be expensive. Wines don't have to be pretentious. They don't have to be anything. They just have to be what you like. Again, sweet reds, love them. And I've found some that cost $3.98 a bottle, and it just tastes excellent. I've had some that cost $28 a bottle. But I'll be honest with you, it's not the price, it's the quality. Guys, remember that. It's not the label, it's the quality. And if you go to a good store, you can get a taste of, normally they're sampling, and taste them, see what they like. So another wine that I like to deal with, I like Sauvignon Blancs. Sauvignon Blancs are sweeter white wine. Also within that line, you can have a Pinot Grigio, something a little crisp. Some people like to go a little drier with a Chardonnay or something like that. Me in particular, if I'm having my charcuterie board, I don't really want a dry wine. Some people like it. And again, it is totally up to you and your taste buds. This is one of the greatest things about this dish, the charcuterie board with wine flights, is like, man, I don't care. I'll get what I like, and that's what we're going to do. So also, with that being said, I like sparkling wines also. I like sparkling reds, Moscatos, even some sparkling rosés. But I do, one of my most favorite sparklings is a Riesling. Riesling is a German-based wine, and it has a very crisp sparkle and a sharpness to it. It's not made, I know you can do your Moscato, people do a lot of Moscato, which Moscato is basically a dessert wine because the Muscat grapes are very, very sweet. But I don't like it too sweet, but I do like a little crisp and a little bit of sweetness. That's why I really prefer a Riesling. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead And I want you, if you guys have your bottles ready, go ahead and crack your bottle. Let's crack the bottle of wine. We're gonna crack a bottle here. I'm gonna start here and oh, well, excuse me. For those of you who don't drink wine, don't like alcohol, we also have sparkling ciders. You got sparkling apple cider, you have sparkling peach cider, you have sparkling pear ciders. All of these are great because they're nice and crisp and they just give you a nice little pop in your mouth. You know, the effervescence, as they used to say on the commercial for one of those ginger ales, the effervescence and the bubbles just go great with the crackers and the cheese. The effervescence tickles your nose as it goes up. So don't be scared to say, hey, I don't drink wine so I can enjoy. You can enjoy too. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to start with the Sauvignon Blanc. The Blanc de Blanc.
Chef, we have a question.
Yes, man, I have a question.
If you are not at all familiar with wines, you don't know what it is you like or don't like, where is a good place to start?
If you haven't really drunk wines and you really, the question is, where do you start if you're going to be a new to drinking wines? I always say start with sweet whites. Again, Sauvignon Blanc, Blanc de Blancs, start with a sparkling sweet. The Muscats, those type of sweet wines. And the reason I say that is because if you go and you jump into like Chardonnay or if you're going to jump into the reds, you're going to get that. I know we all seen Martin before. We're going to get that in the back here. And we may not want, it may turn you off from drinking wines. So start slow. Don't be afraid. Experiment. Educate so that you can be elevated. And you start with your sweet white. You move up into a drier white. Then you can go, and here's the great part about wines right now. We have wines from all over the world. I mean, I love the Napa wines from Napa Valley, but I also like the Chilean wines. I like the wines from Australia. So you don't have to go into those heavy, you gotta have a French wine, you gotta have a Spanish wine from Spain. You know, New York, Finger Lakes. So every state has vineyards. I suggest you take a trip to one of the vineyards that are near you and go in and talk to the people there, and they will get you started and bring you right across the board and give you all taste. They'll give you a flight of wines and it'll take you right across, and then you can figure out what you like and what's worked for you. So again, you can start. I started with sweet whites, and I mean, I drank Cabs and Merlots for years. I have bottles that are 20, 30 years old. They might be vinegar, to be honest, by now. But of Cabs. But now I'm back to sweet whites. I'm a little older. I don't need for me, I don't need to put it in a decanter and let it breathe for 3-4 hours before you can drink it. And that's very nice. Don't get me wrong, it's lovely like that. But if I want something, I just want something nice, crisp, quick, and clean, and I might want a red. I'm getting a table red. One of the other things that you can start with is Zinfandels. Zinfandels are excellent wines to go into. They just taste amazing, light and sweet. So I'm going to go ahead, and I hope you guys have a little taste of your wine. Everybody got their wine out? Yes, good. We're going to spin it a little bit. And the things you want to look for in wine, especially in your red wines, you want to spin your bottle a little bit and you want to tilt it. And as you lean your glass down, you should see some legs forming. You'll see almost looks like a little bit of syrup running down the sides. That's the legs. It's called legs. And those legs actually supposedly tells you about the quality of the wine, tells you how the flavorful the wine will be. You can see it mostly in your heavy reds because they're a little bit thicker, but you'll see the legs and they'll flow down. And that really tells you want to spin your wine a little bit just to get it to rub together so that when you bring it up to your nose, your aromas will start to flow. Man, it's the smell first. And that's when we talk about taste and eating. It's eyesight, the legs, always goes with food. What do I see first? Then the next step is the smell. What is that aroma like? See, the aroma. Then it's the texture, and that's when we talk about the legs. The legs will teach you a little bit about texture. Then it's the taste on the back of the throat. Now, some people like the Martins. Some people like that. I don't. I just want the nice, smooth flavor. So here we go. And you can guzzle. You can sip. This is all up to you because you're sitting there by yourself or with a group of friends. Nobody cares. You can grab the bottle and turn the bottle up. That's on you. All right. But for me, I'm just going to enjoy this little sip right here now. Ooh, that aroma is so good. Oh. Man, like crisp. Just waking up my taste buds, just getting flowing. This is great. Love it. I'm not gonna drink too much because I got some other stuff to teach y'all. And we want to make sure we can continue on. So we're gonna go from there, and I'm gonna go into my Zinfandel. My Riesling. Now, if you notice, all the bottles that I have screw tops. Now, years ago, that would have been a no. You gotta have a cork. And I used to save corks, save labels, and do all of that, and it was nice. But you have to realize that everything is in time. So years ago, when they bottled wines, they didn't have the automation to be able to have a screw top on that'll keep the air in. So they had to figure out something. So some monks in France came up with a cork. And the cork is actually, it's actually an organic natural material. And they actually stuck them in the bottles because it would swell and they would turn it to the side and lay them sideways. They had to keep the cork moist, otherwise they would dry up. And then it would get too much air in it. And then the wine would turn bad quickly, and it also would leak out. So back in the day, that's why they used corks. Today, we don't have to worry about it because we have automation and technology, which put a screw top on it and holds the flavor in good. All right. And speaking of which, those monks back in that day, those are the ones from the monk that invented. His name was Dom Perignon. I think you all heard of that before. Dom Perignon. That's right. So we're gonna pour a little bit here. Oh yeah. So now we're talking about a Riesling. It should have a little sparkle. Back down. And a little effervescence. You see the little bubbles, little tiny bubbles in there. All right. I'm gonna spin it a little bit. You can see the bubbles in the glass. Can anybody see those? I'm gonna take a little. Just give me a moment. Ooh, yeah, we're gonna take a sip now. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. This was gonna go great with our cheese choices. All right. Everybody tasting wine? All right. We're gonna move a little bit further in. Now we're gonna go to our table red. Notice I put my top back on because I don't want to knock this thing over. You never know. We're gonna go to our table red. This is, again, people say you should have white wines chilled, red wines room temperature. Again, it's your particular preference. When I drink a table red, I want it to be a little bit, little chill to it. I like that. If I'm drinking a Lambrusco, I want it to be a little bit of a chill to it, right? I mean, most of your Italian reds are gonna be light and fruity, and not as heavy as the French Merlots and the Cabs. But I like those to be a little bit chilled, okay? So.
Question, Chef.
Question?
What is a table wine?
Table wine. So table wines are, nowadays, it's just a basic blend of grapes. So when you hear Cab and you hear Merlots, those are all, even your Muscatel, the Moscatos, those are all types of grapes, okay? So when you get some of them, like your Syrahs are normally blends. So your table reds, I call them table wines, are normally blends of different grapes. And they're a little less expensive. Normally the reds are nice and fruity and they're very light. You can drink, you gotta be careful when you're drinking those because they're light and fruity. So it's like drinking, you can drink Kool-Aid, but drink too much, they do catch up real quick to you because there's a good alcohol content in them also. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead now. We're gonna take the red, pour our red, tilt our glass a little bit. Oh yeah, twist it. You always twist when you get ready to stop. Twist, stop. Tilt your glass. Take a look. See how light that is through there? Light and fruity. It's not heavy like a cab. It's not heavy like a Merlot. It's kind of a little bit lighter than a Syrah, but it's got a nice little it's almost like a Zinfandel. Very, very light. Can everybody see that? All right. First things first. And if we notice, I'm going to show you something also. Not as strong in aroma, but here's what your reds, what you can do is you give them a little bit, even though I like it a little chilled, you hold the tulip in your hand like so, the bulb of the glass, and you spin it a little bit just to get a little bit of your body heat onto that glass, and that actually releases more of the flavor of the reds, okay? So now, when you're sitting in a restaurant and they pour a red for you, first thing you can do is take your fingers and hold your stem of the glass down, and you spin it around. Spin it around will start to show you how the wine is moving. It'll show you the viscosity of the wine, all right? And then you pick it up and you tilt, and it'll show you the legs start running down the sides. Like this one's very light in legs, which is okay because you can barely see them. But that's what I want. I don't want that heavy. And the only thing I can do is keep comparing it to a Merlot, because Merlots are very, very, very heavy, and you'll see it. You know, and don't get me wrong, I love a good Merlot, but that's a process of drinking those. What I'm teaching right now, we're talking about right now, this is something just for you to enjoy real quick in an evening at brunch or at a quick lunch with someone. This is what it is. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Man, I love those table reds. Ooh. I'm gonna give you a name of a table red, and it's hard to find, and it's like a $4 bottle of wine, and it's called the Red Guitar, if you can find it. It is absolutely amazing. Just be careful. Enjoy it, but be careful. Enjoy it. I'm gonna have another sip, then we're gonna move over to the board, and we're gonna start making our chutney. Okay, guys? Mm. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Everybody taste their wines? How are your wines? How were they? I know it's kind of early, but it is 5 o'clock somewhere.
There's a comment, Chef.
Yes.
They didn't drink wine, but they had their non-alcoholic beverage.
Awesome. Was it good?
Yes.
Awesome. Now, don't drink too much of it because we're going to move over because you're going to start blending that flavor with our crackers and our cheese and our fruit. All right. And for those that don't eat pork, you know, there's a lot of other sausage that you can get and that you can do, especially nowadays. It doesn't have to be sausage, guys. It can be any cured meat. Cured salmon is amazing. You know, gravlax, or even some Nova, or any kind of smoked salmon, or you know, even they have beef sausage and things like that that actually excellent flavors. All right, so we're going to slide over to our cutting board here as I move over, and we're going to start our chutney. So let's talk about, again, what we're doing now. We're talking about elevating, educating, diversifying, and blending. So we're taking a very French concept with the charcuterie, and being, again, charred flesh, cured meats, very, very French, and it's preserved product. And we're going to actually make a chutney, which is an Indian style fruit. Well, we're doing the apple one. You can do different ones. We're going to do an apple one. And there's things, again, that you can add, but it's basically from India. It has a lot of flavor in it. It's one of those items, cook, let it put in the pot, and let it go. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut our apple. And I said to remove the core. For those of you who have a core, it's great. But I'm going to show you how to do it without a core, okay? So we're going to hold our apple down. Look at our apple, and you see it's round, right? It's round. We're going to square it off. okay? Because that core is dead center right around here. Can everybody see that? Right around there, that's where the core is. And I'm just gonna take my chef knife and I'm gonna cut down the side of the core, one side of the apple. Be careful, I don't want anybody to cut themselves, all right? And we're gonna put that down, and then we're gonna look at the core to see where it is, and I'm gonna lay the flat side down. See, whenever you're using a knife and you're cutting any kind of item, the best thing to do is make, you can do with a small slice of the item off, if it's a round or oblong or any kind of shape that's not flat, and then create yourself a flat surface. And then you put your flat surface down, and then you can cut. And it's a very safe way of cutting, especially if you want to teach your kids. All right, so I'm looking down at the bottom of the apple, top of the apple. That's where your core is. I'm going to come right down on the side of it. Right through. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn it over again. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come right down the side of it. Okay. Now, there's seeds right here. There's the core right along here. We're going to go ahead and go right next to that seed. I'm going to cut that out. All right. So now, if you look at this part, I left a little bit of seed in there, right? But there's not too much core. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to curve around that seed with the point of my knife and pull that apple right out. Pull those out. Okay. So there we are. So that's your cored apple without using an apple core. Everybody see that?
Yes, chef.
All right. Everybody caught up with me so far?
Yes, chef.
All right. I'm going to actually throw this away. Get it out of the way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just make this into some chunks. We're going to lay it on the side again, get the flat side, and I'm going to cut one time down, and I'm going to lay it back down, and I'm going to cut one side down again. And what we're going to do is we're going to do what we call a medium dice. All right. That's your apple. And I know it said we're going to use 2 apples for this, but these are really big Granny Smith apples, so we're only going to use 1. Okay. And notice we did not peel it. All right. We did not peel it. Okay. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use that flat side down. I'm going to lay it a little bit more to the side here so it's more surface flat. And I'm going to cut down one time. I'm going to come back and we're going to core. We're going to do that again. If you feel a little bit of core, I feel a little bit of core left in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this part again, and I'm just going to turn that knife in and pop that out. Be careful, because the knife won't cut you, but you will cut yourself. Okay? I'm going to pull that right out. A little bit deep, but we're going to kick that. We're going to throw that out. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to cut this one more time because it's kind of thick. And then I'm going to come, but notice every time I cut, I'm using a flat surface, flat side, okay? We're not trying to I'm not going to try to use this rounded side here and try to cut and rock them back and forth. That's going to be a potential dangerous situation. So here we go again. Large dice. Now, the thing about these, they don't have to be uniformed in the slices, okay, guys? They don't have to be uniformed at all. Because we're going to just put this in a pot and we're going to let this cook down. Again, and we talk about a lot of cooking is peasant style cooking that has been elevated because it was a necessity that they would have to, they were agricultural, they were working in fields, they were working outside, so they had to put things on that would cook for a long time without being watched. Okay, this is not haute cuisine. This is just very peasant stuff, and man, I love it. So I'm going to add the apples into my bowl. All right, apples in the bowl. Then I'm going to come back here and cut an onion. Again, all your portion sizes, everything we talk about 1 or 2 in a dish like this is all up to your taste buds. Okay. Remember that. If you don't want to put onions in, don't. If you want to put 3 onions in, fine. You want to put as much as you want to put in, that's what you want to do, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and cut this onion. So whenever I cut an onion, I'm going to show you guys a really easy way to cut an onion that will help you from crying and things like that, okay? So we're going to do, you see you have a root end. This is your root end, right? It's all Looks like a bunch of roots on the bottom. And this would be your flower end. This is where the onion flower would come out. Okay, so we're gonna cut the root end first, right? And that's gonna stop the bleeding, is what we call it, but it's bringing the moisture. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna angle my knife. I'm gonna cut in, but I'm not gonna cut all the way through. I'm gonna just bring it an angle of the knife and bring it down some. And then I'm gonna actually take the onion itself, leaving the knife on an angle. See how it's angled up in the air? And then I'm gonna pull the onion up, okay? And you see how there's a little bit of skin on there and the core and the root end. Now we're gonna turn it over and we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the flower end. We're gonna pull it up. Then we're gonna just come across, take your knife, and this onion has a little bit of roughness in it, and I'll adjust that as we go. And I'm gonna see how that peel comes off. Just get your knife underneath that peel, and the peel will just come right up for you. This avoids you standing there with your fingers trying to scrape the peel off, trying to get, cut it and pull back and forth and do all that. And then that's when you start crying and things like that. Then you don't want to cut your onion anymore. So you see this little end of the onion, it happens. So a lot of times our fruits and veggies have little blemishes. So what we do is we just cut that blemish off. Remember I told you it's a good time to make it a flat edge also. So I cut that off, and I'll make a flat edge. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of all of this. We're gonna pick it up, and we put it right into our garbage. All right, also with the apple, which I did beforehand, you make sure you wanna wash your fruit. I didn't mention that, but we wanna wash all our fruit, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and take half of this onion. Tough. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead, flat side down on the board, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take, oh, look at that. The center of that onion was already starting to flower. That's what that is. That's called the shoot. And that's where the flower was gonna come out of that onion. Happens, that's good. All right, so what I'm gonna do here now, we got our flat side down. I'm gonna turn it towards me and I'm gonna cut down, okay, twice. And I'm gonna come back one time, okay? We're gonna add that to our apples. That's all the onion I'm gonna add to this dish. One particular, but actually the onions will get sweeter in here. But this was a pretty big Granny Smith apple. And you know what, let's go ahead and add a little bit more onion, just a little bit more. We're gonna cut this one in half and we're gonna take it, cut it in half again, and then we're gonna slice it again.
Question, Chef,
Yes?
what is a chutney?
Question, what is a chutney? It is basically a type of, if you want to make it can be like a relish or a spread or a jam, but it has an Indian basis to it. So we're going to add, a lot of times you'll have curry in it. You have ginger. We're not adding curry in this particular one because I don't want the curry to overpower or fight with the meats, the salamis, and the crackers that we're going to make. So we just added some ginger to this one. So basically you want to have curry or ginger, a little bit of water. You can use garam masala, which is a Indian seasoning mix, and pretty much onion and apples. And we're going to put it on to cook. And a lot of times you can just, we're going to add a little bit of raisins to this also, just because it gives a good little flavor, okay? So I have these little boxes of raisins. I'm going to add 2 of these little tiny boxes of raisins in here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to set it up here so you can see it. I'm going to add 2 little boxes of them. Again, like I told you guys, you can add whatever you like or omit whatever you like. That's up to you. It's all about your flavor, your taste buds. What do you think is good? And here's the thing. Sometimes we don't know what's good. So the best thing to do is just try it. It can't hurt to try. You never know, right? All right. I can get the raisins out. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go over to the stove right now. And what I'm going to do here at the stove, I've already measured out all of the dry ingredients for the chutney. And I did that because I just want to get moving on to other things. I'm excited about this. So I'm excited about getting to our charcuterie board. So this is going to take a little while to cook. So we already got our seasoning mix there. There's cinnamon, a little ginger, some brown sugar, And then we're gonna add a little bit of water into this. This is how simple this dish is. And I'm gonna add a tiny bit of apple cider vinegar just because I like to have a little bit of a in the dish, okay? So there we go. We're gonna take this pot top off. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our cut onions and apples into the dish, into the pot. All right. Try to get them all in. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of water. This says a quarter cup. And the reason I'm adding the water because this gives, you never know what the moisture content is gonna be in your apple. Sometimes it's a high moisture content, sometimes it's a low moisture content. So we're gonna add just a little bit of water to ensure that we have some moisture in this. We don't want it to dry out. Is everybody with me? Everybody with me?
I see heads nodding no.
Okay,
Chef.
what do we need? Tell me where you at.
Spices.
Spices, okay.
I'm reading lips.
All right, spices, you got brown sugar, your ginger, you have cinnamon,
I see heads nodding yes.
okay. We'll go ahead and put those in. While we're doing that, does anybody else have any questions about anything? Any questions? All right,
One question, Chef.
question?
Where do they sell the red guitar wine?
Red guitar it's hard to find. I used to find it actually in a supermarket here in Texas, and we've had a hard time to find it now. It's very, very, I guess we can look it up on Google and we'll see. But it's the red guitar. It's absolutely wonderful. Now was the question, where do you find the red guitar wine? All right. Everybody good? Ready to go with the pot?
We've got thumbs up, Chef.
All right. Walking back over to the stove. So this is the important part, guys. We have our onions, we have our apples in. We're gonna put our spices right on top. I put a little bit of water in there, okay? Now we're gonna cover this pot, okay? And we're gonna turn it on. And we're gonna turn it on to a nice low to medium flame. If you're using an electric oven, low to medium also on there, all right? And we're just gonna let it cook down. That's the great part about this chutney. Again, like I told you, a lot of these dishes, things were made for people who didn't have time to stand over the stove. They didn't have time to, let's think back to the African-American plight in slavery where they had to put things on, but we can even go into Sicily and southern parts of Italy, where it was very agricultural and they had to work the land. So their dishes, one of their most famous dishes is called the puttanesca. And they had to actually put that on in the morning. It's tomatoes and onions and garlic and oregano and all kinds of spices. And they put it on in the morning and they would let it cook all day while they went to work in the fields and doing other things. If anybody, punta is a different meaning in Italy, but she had to have stuff ready for men. So came up with that famous sauce called puttanesca, and that's how it cooks all day long. So a lot of the food a lot of things that you see and a lot of foods come across, there's history behind them and why they were done that way. All right. Okay, we're gonna move back over to the board. Okay, I'm gonna actually rinse my knife off because I just cut onions on there, and I'm gonna use the same knife. All right, we're gonna use the same knife, but we're gonna cut fruit, guys. So we don't want the flavor of the onion coming across on our knife. Does that make sense? So we could use the same knife for the onion and the apple for the chutney because it's all gonna be cooked together, right? I'm gonna slide this over here, out of the way. Come back. I'm gonna take a quick look at my pot. I know we just started it, but I'm gonna take a quick look at it just to see where we are. I'm gonna shake it a little bit. All right. You can listen to it. Remember, I tell you, your food will always talk to you. Remember that, okay? So I'm gonna raise it up just a little bit. we're gonna come back and we're gonna make sure that we stir it. Have your rubber spatula ready so you can start stirring it, moving it around. It's gonna cook down nice. Okay, back over here. The next thing we're gonna do, guys, I think we are going to go into our seasoning mixes. So seasoning mixes, says, Chef, you didn't put seasoning mix recipes on there. I know I didn't. But if you look at it in the ingredient list, I have the seasoning in the ingredient list. So you wonder why those seasonings are there. So I'm going to make some seasoning that we're going to use for our crackers, right, guys? So we're using these mixes for our crackers. But the great part about it, these mixes that we're going to make, you can use for, again, whatever you like. So we're going to do a lemon pepper dill mix. That is awesome, awesome for a baked salmon. It is awesome for any type of fish dish. It's great on chicken, even certain beef, grilled beef, where you add a little tiny bit of butter with it and put it on the top of the beef. It's an amazing flavor. So we're going to do a lemon pepper dill. That's going to be one of our spices. The other one is going to do a little Cajun, just a real simple, quick Cajun. And then we're going to do actually, let's do the Mediterranean first. We're going to do a Mediterranean, and then we're going to do the Cajun. And the reason I'm saying that, because I want to show you how from the Mediterranean, we move to the Cajun with almost all the same ingredients. So what I'm trying to teach you is that seasonings and spices and dishes and everything, they are panoramic. They've gone across the world. That was, back in years ago. I can't tell you what years, but it's called with Christopher Columbus. He went searching for a new route to get spices across from India into Italy and Spain. So, you had the Oriental Spice Trail, things like that, where they just traded seasonings across the world. And they don't talk about it as much, but a lot of that trail started in Northwest Africa and then went across the Mediterranean. Salt being, at that time, one of the most expensive items on the face of the earth. And that salt, most of it came from North Africa, and it traveled all the way across. So that's to let you know that very rarely are you going to find a seasoning that's only in one place. Everything that we do we are so diverse, we are so intermingled and blended. When it comes to food and history, it's just amazing, and it shows you how the world has come together, even though there are issues in the world. But when you look across the board, when it comes to food, you'll see spices have traveled, seasonings have traveled, methods of cooking have traveled. Before there was any kind of cooking or preserving anything in Europe, in the Moors in North Africa were doing preservation of meats, curing of meats, smoking of items, and they brought that up into Spain and Portugal, and which went across the diaspora of Europe. So again, everything has a base, and everything is just so intertwined. So with that being said, again, we got our chutney going, Indian. We're going to do a traditional charcuterie board, French. We're actually going to use some Italian sausage in that. We're going to use some different cheeses. We're going to use a smoked Gouda, which is from Holland. We're going to do a Brie, which is from France. And we're going to do our traditional American cheddar. All right. So everything just blends together, guys. There's nothing that is taboo when it comes to food. There's nothing that you can do with food that somebody can tell you, oh, you can't do that. That's not right. You do what you like. That is the great part of culinary art. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead again. I have lemon pepper seasoning. You guys can find lemon pepper seasoning in all your supermarkets. They come in shakers. I tend to try to buy my spices and seasonings in bulk, where I can buy them, and they'll have to be a lot. But where I'm scooping my own and weighing it out, because I can get as much as I need. Some places I need a lot of, some I don't need as much, and it's actually a little bit cheaper to buy it this way. So when you get an opportunity and you find that, weigh your own spices out. There's spice stores all over the place that you can go to that you can get nothing but spices. And it's good when you go to those places, just talk to the people there. They'll tell you about some things you may not even know about. And when you go in those kind of stores, people love to teach. People love to tell you different things you may not know, things that are there and available. And don't be afraid to try them. Don't ever say, "Oh, I don't like this. I don't like that. I can't eat this. I can't eat that." If you never tried it, because if you haven't tried it, you don't know if you like it or not. Okay, so think about that. So I'm just going to add a simple teaspoon or so of lemon pepper, right? Yeah, a little dab more because that's the kind of guy I am. All right, close that lemon pepper back up. Now I'm using dried dill. Can you use fresh dill? Yes, you can. Problem is, I don't want to use a fresh herb with a dry spice, okay? Because the moisture from that herb is going to get clumpy on that dry spice. So I'm using a dried herb with a dry spice, okay? So again, this is your taste buds for you. Do you like a lot of dill? If you don't know, try it. Taste your dill. See what you like. Then you know. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. And this is as simple as it gets right here. This is a lemon pepper dill spice. So I have just created this spice mix that can last you, and you can hold it for a long time, right? Instead of going and spending $3 on a bottle that's about 5 ounces or less on a lemon pepper dill seasoning mix. Now I have lemon pepper left that I can use for something else, and dill that I can use for something else. And it probably cost me less than that whole bottle would have cost. Okay, so we're going to move right along, and we said we're going to do the Mediterranean, right? So in the Mediterranean, a lot of people don't know there's dill in Mediterranean cooking. When you come across and you get down into Greece, a lot of the dishes in Greece have dill in it. For this particular Mediterranean dish, we're not going to use dill in it. We're going to use oregano, okay? And also, if you look at your oregano, there's normally 2 types of oregano. You have Greek oregano and you have Spanish oregano. So that tells you something right there. Spain and Greece are both along the Mediterranean. Interesting, huh? You know, you want to teach your kids some history. Your kids want to get your kids interested in world geography. Start cooking. Start teaching them about cooking, because you're going to learn some things that amaze you, that will amaze you about food and where things come from and how they originated. All right, so on this one, I'm going to add probably about 2/3 the amount is going to be oregano. This is the Mediterranean. Now, also in the Mediterranean, we could put a little bit of lemon in here. Like I said, you could put a little bit of dill in here, but we're going to do something very basic, and because we're going to add this to our crackers. And so the flavors that you're going to get, you're going to see are going to be really amazing. So we're going to add a little bit of garlic. Again, we're going to use granulated garlic, guys, right? Granulated garlic. All right. Again, your flavor profile, not mine. That's why I didn't give you any ingredients, any instructions on this. And that's the great part of culinary arts. All right. Let the ancestors lead you. Get the feel for your spices and your herbs, right? We're going to add a little bit of black pepper in here. And I'm actually adding about the equal amount of black pepper to garlic, okay? Just to give you a little rundown. And the last thing we're going to add in here in this particular Mediterranean is going to be a little bit of salt. So my base mix that I use in my kitchen is garlic, granulated garlic, black pepper, and salt. And I use that basically on anything. And when I'm in a restaurant, I have that mixed up ready to go. Now, what it normally is, it's normally about 1/4 of salt and then about 2/3 of the other 2. I know it doesn't add up in the math, but you get the idea. You're going to use a lot less salt than the black pepper and the garlic. All right. So now we're going to add our salt. And you'll notice I'm changing my spoon settings. And again, this is on your taste buds. Whatever you feel that you want. You might like a lot of salt. You may not. Okay.
Question, Chef,
Yes.
is that Sea salt, iodized salt, or what kind of salt are you using?
Question is, what kind of salt am I using? So right now I am using just an iodized basic salt. You could use sea salt, you could use Himalayan salt, you can use kosher salt. Again, that is your preference. I like sea salt for certain things. The Himalayan salts are good for certain things. To me, everything doesn't work for everything, because I'm looking for, in this particular dish, I'm looking for a flavor profile that this iodized salt, which is really not salt at all, but we'll talk about that later, will give. All right. So I'm going to mix it up, mix it around. So what do we have in here? We have oregano, garlic, salt, pepper, right? Is that correct?
Yes, chef.
Is anybody out there?
And this is the Mediterranean.
This is a Mediterranean blend. Now you could also, again, you can add, if you like, you can add a little dill to it. You can add a little bit of lemon peel, dried lemon peel, or anything like that, and it still will be Mediterranean. All right, because the Mediterranean rim runs from Northwest Africa all the way across the Horn of Africa. I'm sorry, all the way across the top of Africa and down and down into Italy, down past Greece. So that Pacific Rim runs a long way. So you have all types of food along that rim there. All right. A lot of times when you hear about fusion cooking, which was big about 10, 15 years ago, everybody was doing fusion, and we're doing Mediterranean fusion, and we're doing French fusion. Really, all that came down to is we taking dishes from other countries and just putting them together and working with ingredients that you would normally use in one place and not in another place that we knew of. But if you look at it across the world, most people use the same spices, the same ingredients with a few variations. Okay, so any questions? Is everybody caught up? So now we're going to go ahead and make our Cajun. Can anybody tell me what's going to go into the Cajun? I'm going to add a little bit of oregano. A lot of people don't realize, or some people do. Actually, I worked with a famous chef named John Fultz. He's one of the top Cajun chefs ever. He was an amazing guy. And one thing that he taught me was, we talked about the mirepoix when you're cooking, the Trinity when you're cooking Cajun food. And people think that for Cajun food, you got to have a lot of heat. And he taught me that if you use the Trinity correctly, the Trinity being onions, celery, and bell peppers, and then you're sauteing and you cook in layers. You don't throw everything in the pot and let it go. Once you add the oregano, that flavor will change and bring up a different spice. It's not always necessarily heat. A lot of people felt, and we're going to use some cayenne in this, but a lot of people think you just got to add a lot of cayenne for a Cajun seasoning. It's not true, because Cajun is not necessarily hot. It's just flavorful. Let's remember that. I'm going to walk over to the stove right now and give a good stir. Let's see how our chutney is doing. And if you need to add more liquid, then add more liquid. I'm also going to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar now. And notice I didn't add the vinegar in the very beginning. And the reason being is that I didn't want the flavor to actually start cooking out as it heats up before we got a good amount of liquid in. Does everybody see this chutney? Now you notice I'm lowering the flame, I'm lowering the fire. Did everybody see what's happening with this?
Yes, chef.
All right. How's it smell?
Delicious, chef.
All right. So the great part about chutney is you can use it hot, you can use it cold, it refrigerates and holds well. You don't even have to refrigerate it. You can actually leave it out and it'll be great at room temperature. You can use it on just bread. You can use it with food. You can mix it into food that you're cooking. It's just an amazing dish. So I'm going to add just a capful of apple cider vinegar, guys. And probably not even a whole capful, just enough to pick up a little bit of that acid twang into it. There we go. All right. And I'm gonna stir it up again. How does that smell? Oh my, that smells, oh my God. Oh, that smells so good.
I see smiles on the camera, Chef.
Yes, it smells so good. And you can buy chutney also. One of the best chutneys that I bought when I first started using was called Madras. Oh man, I gotta start calling these companies. I keep giving them plugs, but Madras chutney is really, really good. Okay. So let's walk back over to the board real quick, and we're gonna finish this Cajun seasoning. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get our black pepper. We have our oregano in there already. So this already reminding you of our Mediterranean seasoning with the oregano and the black pepper, right? And our granulated garlic. Everybody with me?
Yes, Chef.
All right, granulated garlic. I'm gonna put a little ginger in there. Nobody asked the question, I'm surprised. On the chutney, I used ginger powder. You could use fresh ginger root. You could also use a ginger paste. For me, I don't necessarily like to use fresh ginger because sometimes it can be stronger or weaker. Same with the paste. I like to use the powder because it's going to be pretty consistent and I can adjust and change the flavor profile as I like. All right, now we're going to add a little bit of salt. Somebody tell me what's the last thing we're going to add to this?
Cayenne pepper.
There you go. And we're only going to add a little bit of it because we don't need it to burn your mouth off. We just need it to have a little bit of flavor. All right. Anybody can make something that can just burn your mouth. I've never set out to make the hottest thing because anybody can do that. I like to make things that are flavorful. Like our Big Daddy Sneak Up sauce, which I still don't, I need to get some bottles out so you guys can see it. It has a sweet with a little bit of heat. That's what we call it. All right, we're gonna stir this around just to get the flavor in there. We want to make sure there might be a little clumps. I just want to make sure to break up all that pepper. All right. I'd like you guys to take a smell of that. Should be able to smell a little bit of heat. I know that sounds crazy, right? Smell a little bit of heat. But if you do what I just told you, you will see what I mean. All right, guys. How are we doing so far? Everybody is still interested and excited? But now we're getting to the good parts of this.
Thumbs up, Chef.
Thumbs up. Okay, we're gonna make some crackers. So I call them crackers. The original crackers were created in Massachusetts in the United States. Gentleman, John, I still can't remember his last name. He was making bread and he had the bread in the oven too long and the sound that it started making was cracking. So that is how crackers came about. It's just the sound of the bread as it was not necessarily burning, but it was overcooking and it was making a crackling sound. So it's not that those other crackers that we talk about. It's not any other thing like that. That's what the sound was, the cracking sound. So that's how crackers came about. So we're actually going to do something different though. We're not going to bake our crackers. We're going to fry them, and we're going to fry them really quick, really fast. We're going to use naan bread, N-A-A-N bread. Normally, I love to use lavash. That is, so naan, lavash, pita, those are all unleavened breads. All breads that, yes, question?
Yes. Question is, when should we start the oil for?
If you are using a pan, start your fire, start it now. And we're gonna start ours. Once I get the bread cut up, we're gonna use a fryer. because we're gonna give it a couple minutes to get up. But if you start in the pan, it's gonna take a little bit longer to get hot. You don't want to overheat your oil. It's very important. Your oil, if you have a thermometer, most people don't, but your oil wants to be right around 330 to 350 degrees, really no higher than that. You don't need higher than 350 degrees to fry most anything. All right. So.
We have another question, Chef.
Yes.
What's the difference between a cracker and a crouton?
Oh, great question. So a crouton, question is the difference between a cracker and a crouton. I'm gonna give you a couple things on this one. So a cracker is normally baked very thin. It's a baked piece of, it's thin and it's baked to the point where it's has a little crisp to it and a little snap to it, even though we're gonna fry ours because we're actually starting with a bread. Crackers is started from a dough. Croutons are actually breads, normally from breads that have risen, Italian bread, French bread. You can make croutons with hamburger buns, brioche buns, actually make great croutons. And what you do is you cut them into a cube, you season them if you like, but you normally want to put some sort of fat and maybe butter, could be olive oil. And then there's a couple ways you can do it from there. They're cut into cubes, whereas the crackers flat and thin, and then you bake those off in the oven, or you can fry them very quickly and pull them up. All right. So that is a crouton. But I'm gonna tell you something how subjective things can be. So you can have bruschettas and croutons. You can have different slices of breads and things like that. And a lot of times it will just be difference in the competition, because I've actually, instead of winning a gold, I won a silver simply because the bread, I called it a crouton, but it was actually a bruschetta slice because it was just a little too thin to be a crouton, and they actually measured it with a ruler. That's how intense the competitions can be. So yeah, so even I just actually judged the competition for the NAACP. It's called the AXO program. You guys should look into it if you have children that like to cook. They do it every year. There's about 9 different cities, Houston being one, Philadelphia being one. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but look into it. But it's a program for high school students that like to cook, and they have a competition in each city, and whoever wins it in that city will go to the national every year. And the national this year is going to be in Atlantic City, I think in July. And whoever wins the national actually wins a $100,000 scholarship to the American Culinary up in Hyde Park, New York. It's the CIA, Culinary Institute of America, which is like the Yale or Harvard of culinary schools in America. So I judge their competition every year in Houston, and I actually was judging competition last week for some students, and we talk about julienne and bâtonnets and dices and all these different types of cuts. And literally, I had 2 students that could have scored a medal, but I had to knock them off because one, their julienne was too thick; it was almost a ½ inch, and the other one, the julienne was too thin because it was about 1/8 of an inch. And I felt bad, but it's a competition, and it is what it is. Question,
Chef.
Yes.
So with this program, how has the experience that the students are coming with now varied from several years ago? Are they coming in more advanced?
Wow, it's funny you said that. It's because the one thing that we noticed this year in particular, the students weren't as advanced as they have been in previous years. So the program, and I don't want to get too far off the program, what it does, and this is how I got into it, I was asked to mentor a student. What we do is you get a student and you find a chef to mentor them for 6 weeks, and they create a menu. They have to do a oral presentation. Everything has to, grammar has to be written out. Everything has to be perfect. And the chef will mentor them for 6 weeks on their 2 dishes. We're proud to say here in Houston, up until year before last, for 3 straight years, we had the actual gold champion winner for the national, and they won they won the full scholarship to the Culinary Institute of America. Matter of fact, one of the judges that judged with me last week, she was actually the original winner here in Houston, and she just finished her culinary, she just got her culinary degree last year. She actually came back to judge with us, and it was just really, it was surreal because I remember as a little girl, as a senior in high school, trying to win this competition. So yeah, but this year, the competitors were not as skilled as they have been in the past, and we attribute it to the fact of COVID, that they didn't get the time to spend in school because these students that are in the culinary programs in their high school, for one, and then two, they didn't have the time to spend with the mentors. And so, yeah, the skill level was a little bit low. So needless to say. All right, so I'm gonna go over now and turn my fryer off. Any more questions?
Question, Chef.
Yes.
If you do not have a flatbread, can you use a tortilla, or does that not constitute as a chip? Or
Okay, so tortilla is going to give you a chip, okay, which is okay. The flatbread actually gives you more of what we call the cracker, cracker set. And so yeah, you can use tortilla. You can use pita. Okay, guys, give me a little minute. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're going to get it right. I'm having a little technical difficulty here, guys. May have to do this a different way. Okay, it happens in the kitchen sometimes. Okay, guys, I'm having a little bit of difficulty. I may have to get a pan out to fry, a frying pan. Don't know why. So while we get that together, I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting my breads, and I will get and we'll start, while we're waiting on that, we'll go ahead and start getting the platter, the board together. All right. So I'm going to cut the bread. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut it into, I'm using a oval type bread. So I cut it pretty much in half. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut it into strips. And then I'm going to cut it into little squares. All right. Everybody see those? All right. Same thing, we're going to cut it in half. We're going to cut it again into strips and then into little squares. All right, everybody see that? Are we doing it? Great. Now we're going to set those to the side. I'm going to put them in a bowl and set them to the side for a minute. While that's happening right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about some cheeses. And we're going to talk about some fruits. All right. All right, all right, all right. So I'm going to use just a traditional board. Okay, can everybody see that? And this is what I'm going to use to make my display. All right. You can use a plate, guys. You can use a platter. You can use a tray. You can use anything that you like. I've done this for events. I've done it on mirrors. I've done it on just straight flat tables for like 600-700 people, where we just took 2, 3, 6-foot-long tables and we just covered them, and then we made different fruit and cheeses for them and laid them all out. So you can use anything you like for this. Again, this is very, very set to what you like, not to what anybody else likes, okay? So while that's happening right now, what I'm going to do, we're going to talk about some cheese. All right, so whenever I do a cheese board, I like to use basically 3 types of cheeses. Now I may use 5 or 6 of them, but I'm using 3 basic types of cheese. One is a soft ripened cheese. That can be a brie, a camembert, a Saint Andre. They're soft ripened. They're very creamy on the inside. They have a nice white rind on the outside. We'll take a look at this one right now to show you. And what I do, these are great for display. They're great for, they have a wonderful flavor, by the way. They taste awesome. I love them. And what we do is we take them out of the wrap. They have a white rind. You see that rind that's on them? This is an edible rind that's on it. All right. You can feel, if you feel it, it's really nice and soft. That's what you want. Should be soft and almost runny inside. All right. It should have a sweet smell, not an ammoniated smell. All right. The second cheese that I like to use, I use some sort of a smoked cheese. So I'm using Gouda, smoked Gouda, which is one of my favorite cheeses. I like smoked Gouda. It has a great flavor to it, has great texture to it. It's not as hard as, say, some of the cheddars and things like that. And your smoked Gouda has a brown, normally a brown plastic rind, wax rind on it that this one doesn't, which is awesome. It's just the smoke. And normally they would have a wax rind on it, which is not edible. Okay, so we're gonna take the smoked Gouda out of the package. And I left everything in the package because I wanted you to see it. Okay, and this actually is a wax rind on it. Okay, and when that's not going to be edible, we're going to cut that around and out and go from there. Then we're going to use our traditional cheddar. I love cheddars. Now, again, cheddar is real good. You have aged cheddars. You have a medium cheddar. You can have a sharp cheddar, an extra sharp cheddar. And all that means is that how long they aged your cheddar before they actually cut it to sell. All right. So you also have yellow cheddars, you have white cheddars, you have smoked cheddars. All right. You have cheddars from all over the world. Well, mostly from United States, Ireland, those types of, you know. So I'm using today is an extra sharp cheddar. All right. Then I'll throw a little something in there just as a little kicker. And I'm doing we're going to do a spread, a cheese spread. And this is an alouette, and it's a garlic and herb cheese spread. Okay. And it has garlic and herbs in there. And we sit that there. And this is great to dip your crackers in. Also, what we're going to do with our chutney, and I'm going to step back over to the chutney real quick, just to give a good stir. Chutneys are looking great. I'm actually going to slow it down a little bit. It's getting a little bit drier than I want it, but it's very nice. So I'm going to slow it down because it's just about done. All right. So take a good look at it, guys. Oh yeah, you see that? You see how everything comes together, but nothing gets all. You don't necessarily want it into like a sauce. You don't want it like a paste. All right. So, all right, guys, we got we're up and running again with our fryer. This time we're gonna use we're gonna do the traditional fry, okay? And with the traditional fry, we're going to get our flame on. I think. There we go. Now we're gonna let the oil get hot. All right. See, you know, everything's not perfect in the kitchen. Things happen. I mean, I'm lucky I have a crack production team here, so they just were able to take it and get it going for me. But even at home, if that happened, I would just have to revert and get me my fry pan out and put that oil in it and get it going. It doesn't stop the show. Okay? We just keep on going. Everybody with me on that one? All right. Whew, back over here. So we have our crackers almost ready to go. We have our seasonings almost ready to go, right? All right, we got our cheeses pretty much set there. So the great thing that I deal with the cheese and the meats, how do we display them? They have to be convenient and easy for people to eat, right? That's one. You want it to look good so that people want to eat it. That's two. Also, we've got to talk about the texture and how much space do we have to work with. So we look at our board and we see how much space we have to work and realize that we have to get this board filled up. And the idea is we want to make this look very abundant and full. Okay, so I'm going to start with something that I learned a long time ago, guys, from an old chef that I worked with. Actually, was a cook. He told me we used to work in a hotel together, and we did a lot of cheese boards for big events. And we'd have these mirrors that maybe 6-7 foot long mirrors. And I would start them and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is never gonna get, how's this gonna get filled up? How are we gonna do it? And his advice to me always was just keep putting the items on. Just keep putting them on. Don't worry about everything, just put them on and it starts to fill up. And I'll be honest, true. They just start to look absolutely beautiful because we're using wonderful colors, wonderful textures, wonderful products. And you put it all together, the fruit, the crackers, the meats, the cheese, it actually starts to look so beautiful. And I like to section mine off. And you'll see as we do the board, we want to move things around. I don't want it so in line, let's put it that way. I don't like it so in line. I like to have it a little bit off center, the cuts a little different and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the cheese first. First cheese I'm going to cut is my cheddar. So the cheddar's already squared off, right? So what we're going to do, I'm going to slice it down the middle. So watch how I'm going to cut the cheese. This is important. I am going to take my knife. I'm going to place it where I want it on the cheese. So I'm going to cut this in half, right? And then I'm going to go straight down. Do not try to cut like you would cut anything else. Go straight down till you touch the bottom of the cheese and you feel the board, okay? Move your knife back and forth. Then we come up and we push our cheese off. All right, you see that? Nice clean cut, okay? What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna wipe my knife because we're using real cheese, guys. We're not using that fake stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, and so what we're gonna do is now for this, I'm gonna cut it into little cubes, all right? Remember, you want the cheese to be 1 or 2 bites, okay? But now I'm going to take those cubes and I'm going to cut each one of those in half. Watch the point of your knife when you're cutting, okay? So make sure you go down in your knife when you're cutting right up to a little bit past before you get to the center, depending on how big your knife is. You don't want to be cutting with the point out and sticking your finger to push the knife down and on the point because it will cut you, okay? Safety first. Always safety first. All right. Would you guys mind if I taste a piece of cheese?
Question, Chef.
I got cheese in my mouth. Go ahead. I'm listening.
If we are kind of standard in terms of our cheese exposure, what cheese should we start with if we're uncomfortable with maybe trying a different cheese?
Great question. Question is, if you're not really used to eating cheeses, sort of like the wine, right? What cheese how do you start to become a cheese eater? That's the question. That's what I'm hearing in the question. So my take is this. I used to sell cheese in Manhattan at a gourmet store on Columbus Avenue. Honestly, I knew nothing about cheese when I started there. But what I did learn was I try everything and taste everything. I never know what I'm going to like until I taste it. But when it comes to cheese, let's start with our cheddars. That's pretty much basic cheese. They're you can have them hard, medium, again depending on the age. And if you're adventurous, I go straight to the extra sharp. I go the white cheddars are awesome, and that's a good place to start. From my cheddars, I like to, I would move myself around and go into, say, our from there I would probably go into our soft medium ripened cheeses. So like this Gouda. This is a smoked Gouda. So it's actually Gouda is a type of cheese from Holland, and this one particular is smoked, but they have them that are unsmoked, and they're both actually absolutely wonderful. So I would go to like my Gouda, your softer cheeses. They have good flavor. They're not intimidating, things like that. Then once you start developing that and you get those different flavor profiles that you start to understand how it goes, then I would move up into some of the soft ripened cheese, these soft ripened cheeses, your Bries, your Camemberts, your San Andres. So you have Bries that are what they call creme fractor. So you have like a double creme Brie, or you can have a triple creme. So normally your San Andres is going to be triple creme, but you can have a triple creme Brie, a triple creme Camembert. Triple creme means that it has 75% or above milk fat in the cheese. A double creme is going to have between 50 to 75% milk fat in it. And then you very rarely going to find a soft ripened cheese that has single creme. I don't really know of one off the top of my head. So I like the soft ripened cheeses. They're excellent to start really learning and figuring it out. But again, you go to your cheese shops, your supermarket, talk to the people in the cheese shops. They love to tell you stuff. That's what they do. And they love it, what they're doing. So from there, I will go into, from there, I will start trying to taste some of the smoked cheeses, the different ones. Smoked Gouda, smoked cheddars. Then you can go into some of the Italian fontinas, which are soft ripened. Everybody knows the fettas, right? The feta cheese, those are the Greek cheeses. A lot of people don't know that real feta is actually made with sheep's milk. The other cheeses I'm talking about were made with cow's milk. The feta is normally made with, good feta is made with sheep's milk, okay? So from your feta cheeses, and then from there, there's another group of cheeses that a lot of people don't really talk too much about. We all use them. And it's the pot cheese or the farmer's cheese. It's your ricottas. It is your, what they call a cottage cheese, believe it or not. It's a curd. The curd cheeses, they have large curds and small curds. Those are good cheeses to taste also. Again, mozzarella. I like melted mozzarella, but you can have mozzarella that's been marinated. You can have mozzarella that's rolled with different herbs and spices and prosciutto and things like that. You can have smoked mozzarella. Those are good. Again, that's a soft ripened cheese that actually has a high milk content in it because it's made straight from curd. Lastly, which is some of my favorite cheeses, but I know people are afraid of them. And until you really start tasting cheeses, you want to go into your goat cheese. So your goat cheese are very good. A basic chev actually has wonderful flavor. You can have what they call a montrachet, which is good. Montrachet, sometimes they roll it in herbs, sometimes they roll it in volcanic ash, but they're absolutely wonderful. Then you can have a boucheron, which is a goat cheese that's really high milk content. So it's real rich and creamy and has really good flavor. So that's the way I would start with cheeses, and you move up the ladder. Now the best thing to do, guys, go to your local supermarket. If they have a cheese department, and find that person that's in charge of the cheese department. Trust me, that person loves cheese. That person is going to tell you everything you want to know. They're going to get you started, and you just keep going back, trying more and more different items. Any other questions? No questions?
No question, Chef.
All right, so I've got my cheddar on the board. Now I'm gonna get my Gouda going here. So like I was telling you with the Gouda, you see that wax rind? Everybody, can anybody see that wax rind on there? So I'm gonna pull that wax rind off. Okay, that's wax. You don't want to eat that. Okay? You just pull it right off. You see it? So they use the wax rind to age it and to keep it protected from air. All right.
All Gouda come with a wax rind?
Most of them do. Yeah, you'll probably find a, especially the smoked ones, you will find a wax rind on them.
Question, Chef.
Yes.
What is that Baby Bell cheese made out of?
Baby Bell. All right, guys, read your ingredients. Baby Bell is actually, it's a soft, oh boy, it's a soft ripened cheese. I like Baby Bells. Is it really classically listed as cheese? You know, cream cheese, Baby Bells. They're better than your singles, you know. But when you're talking about classic cheeses, no, it's more of an American style cheese. I will say that. I like Baby Bells. They're good when you're hungry or you need a quick snack or something and a good pick me up. Baby Bells not bad. All right.
Can that go on the charcuterie board?
You can put anything on the charcuterie board. You can put your hamburger slices on a charcuterie board. Anything you want, you can put on a charcuterie board. That is up to you. The great part is that charcuterie board is yours, nobody else's. All right. So what I'm going to need, I'm going to step over to the oil in a minute, but I'm actually going to need a spoon or something to be able to scoop the crackers out of the oil. All right. So while we're getting that going, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this Gouda up. Oh man, I'm going to taste this. I've never had this particular smoked Gouda. Oh. I want to run and grab a sip of that red wine when I taste this Gouda, guys. But I won't. I'm just telling you what I want to do. It's really, really good. My children grew up loving smoked Gouda. They would ask for it. Dad, can we get some of that Gouda? Or that Gouda, as they would say sometimes? And we would eat that. So, you know, one thing I didn't talk about on the charcuterie boards, and I promised I'm not going to make it too graphic because my crack staff have told me to not be too graphic with it. So charcuterie boards, normally classical ones would have if you notice, I'm sorry, I'm going to show you something really quick. There's a little tiny piece of mold on this cheese here. The good part about cheese is I just cut that little piece of mold off and I'm throwing it away. And I didn't mention, speaking of mold, I didn't mention my blue cheeses. So blue cheeses have natural mold. I love blue cheeses. They have a natural mold, and that is probably the last of the cheeses that you want to get into, the blue cheeses, because they can be very strong and pungent in smell, but they really taste so good. You have your basic, you know, everybody knows about the Maytag dishwasher, the Maytag man that comes on TV. Well, Maytag actually makes one of the best blue cheeses in the world also, and it's called a Maytag Blue. Danish, a lot of blue cheeses come from Holland also, and those are Danish blues. Excellent, excellent cheese. All right, just to give you a little bit of information there. All right, so back to what I didn't talk to you about on your charcuterie board. I didn't talk to you about, you guys notice how I'm cutting these? I got different shapes on the cheeses. Again, that's for eye appeal and for texture, height. When you're making your boards, one of the things that you always want to do is you want to make sure you get height on it. Peaks and valleys is what I call them. And the reason that is, and if you're making it for yourself, 1 or 2, doesn't matter if you're making it for 500, because people's eyes, when things are just linear, when they're straight, it doesn't make your brain move as much. But when you have things that are high and low, it makes you, when people look at it, it makes their brain start working. It gets your mind going. So you don't think about it, but that's what happens. So that's why I create a little bit of height, some depth, some width, and everything else, just because I want your brain moving. That's what we do. All right, I'm gonna walk back over to the stove right now, and I'm just gonna double check to see where we are on our oil for our crackers. I'm gonna cut. I got a couple of them that are a little bit bigger than I wanted, so I'm just gonna cut it down a little bit. Okay, that should be it. Oh, wow. Got a few of them that are a little bit big, but we'll check it. So we're gonna come over, and I'm just gonna check the oil first. The reason how I'm gonna check the oil, I'm gonna grab a glass of water. I'm gonna pour it on the oil to see if it's hot. No, we're not gonna do that. All right. I'm not even gonna sprinkle water in like when you were young, when they test the water for the chicken. Well, just sprinkle a little bit of water in there. No, we're not gonna do that either. So we don't have any flour or anything because we're not breading, we're not doing chicken or anything. So I'm just gonna take a corner of the chip and I'm gonna dip it in. I'm gonna feel over it. There's some heat up. I don't think it's hot enough yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and just dip it in. And it's not hot enough yet because it didn't talk to me and it didn't start crackling. So I'm gonna sit this back over here and I'm gonna go ahead and raise the temp on this a little bit. There we go. Now it's starting to get hot and we'll come back to it in a minute. All right, go back to the board here. And I need to put these over with the crackers. Okay. All right, so we're back on here. Cheeses. That piece is for me. There's a piece for my cameraman. Nobody else gets any? Just me and Jay? All right. Now, we're going to do our brie. What do you think, Jay? Smells a little different, doesn't it?
Pretty good.
Uh-huh, see? But that smell at first, you were like, it's a different type of smoke.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go to our brie right now. So I'm gonna cut this brie. Actually, standard, if I were doing a big board, I would probably have a 2 or 3 pound piece of brie. And I would actually just cut a couple slices out and leave the rest of it whole. And then I put a small little spreader on the tray that people can scoop their own brie out. So it's just this little piece here that I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do here now, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this into quarters. It's nice and right. Into 1/4 actually out of it. All right. I'm gonna take a look at it. Oh yeah. Oh, yes, yes, yes. You know, when you find a really nice ripened piece of brie, it's just one of those things that you don't come across often. And this one, I actually bought this a few weeks ago because I knew it was very young, because they're going to sell it young in the store because it's a very expensive piece. You know, it's expensive. Cheese is expensive, and they'll sell it young because they don't want to get it in too aged. And once they do that, then it has a very short shelf life. So now this rind on the outside of here, let me show you, is actually edible.
Question, Chef.
Yes, you always ask me a question when I got something in the mouth.
What is the rind made of?
So this rind is actually, it's cheese. And what they do is they roll it and they keep it so that it gets airtight. So there's air on this rind. And I don't know really, to be honest with you, I don't know what makes it turn white, but it keeps the air inside so that it ages without getting, because if there's air gets in here and starts aging, it becomes ammoniated and smell. Okay. And if you guys ever have any brie, and sometimes you'll get some and you'll see that it will have a smell like ammonia and it will not taste very good. This one is pretty good. It actually aged pretty good. All right. So we're gonna do this
Chef, can we slide those boards to the right?
to the right.
I'm sorry, to the left.
This one that
Excellent.
I'm working on.
Yes.
Sure. I was gonna show them the finished product. See, we're gonna take this piece and just cut it in half. So if you notice again, I talk about building height in the different cheeses. Sorry. Any questions? Is everybody caught up?
Yes, chef.
Okay, I'm gonna go over to the fryer again. I need a spoon to be able to scoop those out.
And
It's just about ready. It's ready. Great.
all the way to your left.
I'm gonna step over here. I'm off that there
To your
for a
left.
minute.
Spoons. In the cylinder.
Right next to the water.
All right, chutney is done. I'm gonna stir it and turn it off. Oh yeah. Not too wet, not too dry. Now I'm gonna turn it off and then let it, the steam that's in there is going to go ahead and keep it nice and moist. I'm going to get a, let me get these crackers out with. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna dump these crackers in, a few at a time. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So I don't want them to cook too much because I don't want them hard, all right? But I do want them to get just a little bit of a crisp to it. All right, it's going well. Everybody see this?
Yes, chef.
All right. Everybody caught up with me cutting cheese and everything? Now, normally when you take something out of your oil, you're gonna try to either get it drained off really good or line the pan or platter with paper towel or something. But I'm not gonna be able to do that. With this, I don't want to do that because it is. I need the oil to pick up some of the. It's gonna help pick up the flavor on the seasoning mixes. So. Naan bread, again, I think I mentioned, is an Indian style bread. All right. The lavash comes from Mediterranean style. This is very good. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and pull some out. Oh, it smells good already. Can you smell that? You smelling it?
Yes, chef.
All right.
Lots of thumbs up.
Awesome. All right. Looking good. So now I'm gonna put some more in right now. And then I'm gonna go back over. Put the rest of these in. And I'm actually going to take some of these out. So that we have the 3 mixes, right? And why you want to put your seasoning on it while it's hot, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead with the lemon pepper on this one. And again, I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit on there. Oh yeah. We're gonna shake it up. Shake, 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 baby. And it's important that you shake it. You can't stir it with a spoon. I love to shake it because I find when you're moving it around like this, it picks up the flavor, rubs against the item, and gives you more flavor in that item. All right. So I think it's important to do the shake, shake, shake kind of thing. All right. And notice there still should be have a little bite to them, a little bit, not fried crisp. And that's when people are talking about the tortilla. So the tortilla, when people talk about, tortilla chips and things like that, they're gonna be, fried and they're gonna get crisp. Because that's what people are looking for. But with this, you don't want it crisp. We don't want it crisp. We just want it to have just a texture to it. All right. So we're gonna pull these out. Drop these. Got a little thrown off, guys, because of the mechanical difficulty we had, but I think we're back on track. I appreciate everybody staying with me. And I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit because I may come back to it, so I wanna keep it hot, but I don't wanna keep it up so high that it's gonna burn out. All right, I'm gonna come back over here, and what I need to do now, I'm gonna take a few of these chips out, just a few, so that we can show the difference in the flavor profiles. Okay, so on this one, I'm gonna go ahead and put the Cajun on. I'm gonna shake it around. This one, we're gonna put the Mediterranean on. We're gonna shake them up, shake them up, shake them up, just to get them to rub, a dub dub, 3 men in the tub. Anybody know who they are? All right. So I'm gonna set these all to the side right now. So we have our Mediterranean, we have our Cajun, and we have our lemon pepper dill, correct? Okay, so now the last cheese that we're gonna put on real quick is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take the, this is a spreadable cheese. This is the spread, it's called Alouette, that's the name of the company. And it has this is a garlic and herb. So this is more of your traditional, like we were talking about Baby Bell, things like that, soft ones. You can take one of these and you just, you dip in this. Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I ain't got nothing else to say. Mm-hmm. Mm. Thank you. All right, now let's move to our fruits, guys. How much time we got, guys?
20 minutes, Chef.
All right, we're doing good, guys. We're gonna be almost done. All right, so fruits. Again, very important how we display our fruits. And I'm doing some strawberries, right? We can put a whole strawberry on the platter, right? We could do that, right? But who's gonna teach you a whole strawberry? How are they gonna get that going? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna cut the strawberries in half, leave the green stem on. What the green stem gives them a person an opportunity to pick it up. Also, it helps with the color. So if I put a strawberry on like this, you got two colors. You got green and red, right? If I turn it over, we have green, red, white, and pink. It's also very sensuous. Strawberries are amazingly sensuous fruits, all right? So that's why I turn them up like this. So we're gonna, again, remember I told you guys, we just keep filling up spaces, all right? So we put a little strawberry on here. Okay. Next thing we're gonna put some dates on here, guys. Does anybody ever taste dates, like dates? These are medjool dates. Dates are very good for you and they're very tasty. There's a little pit inside and we're just gonna put the dates on whole because we don't want to cut them because they get a little bit sticky on the inside, but you just want to, but actually, you know what? Let's cut it. Let's cut it. We're gonna cut down and there is, I'll show, because I want you guys to see the inside. Okay, so this is the inside of the date. There's a little pit right there. I'm gonna take my knife and be careful, guys, if you do this, because it's very sticky and it could, you know, your knife may slip going in there. And so we're just gonna open up the dates They're very, very good for you. Very, very good. Very good source of energy, very good source of different vitamins. They taste great. I love a date. All right. But we have to be careful because they are a little bit sticky. So we're just going to put a couple dates on there. Notice I'm going to bring it on the end here. Anybody know why I put the dates over here?
No, chef.
All right, so color contrast. So now we're already on this side of the board. We already have yellow, green, pink, white, and red. Then we have your basic bland white, but with a little bit of off white center in the cheese there. And then we have our darkness from our dates. So now we start to blend colors. You see how the colors start to flow? Am I making sense? Anybody
Yes,
seeing it? Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put our grapes on. Now, first of all our fruits have been washed. Okay, so that's number one, guys. Make sure you wash your fruits. So with grapes, what I like to do, I don't like pulling the grapes off one at a time and putting them on the board because then they run all over and they don't look so good and everything. What I like to do is I'll take a scissor and I'll cut into little clusters. Right? I'm just gonna cut. I don't want little in there. I'm going to put little clusters on. Show you what I mean. 2 to 3 grapes, right? So somebody picks it up, they pick up 2 to 3 and they pop it in their mouth and boom, throw the stem away and you're good to go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and balance this board out a little bit more. I'm going to sit this here for now, and we're going to change that a little bit. I just want to take up some space color-wise. I'm going to slide this a little, and I'm going to slide that a little. And I'm going to go ahead and put these grapes on this side. All right. Again, I'm thinking about balance. I'm thinking about texture. I'm thinking about appearance and look. What's going to be exciting? What's going to make somebody say, "Oh, I really want to try that. I really want to taste that." Again, we eat with our eyes, right, guys? So here we go. Putting our grapes in. Again, a few of them here. We still have, we don't want little extra pieces of stem hanging on. Okay. You're going to get 1 or 2 loose ones, and that's okay. But for the most part, you want a nice cluster. And notice I'm putting the clusters back together. So it's still going to look like this. Hopefully, they look like grapes on the vine when people see your platter. And then sometimes people would say, "Oh, just grab a grape." You tell them. And then they grab it and go, "Oh, I thought it was the whole thing," And it's not. It's just a little cluster. I do the same thing with broccoli when we're doing vegetable boards. We do the same thing. We cut them and then we put them back together so it looks like it's just one full head of broccoli. People can pick it up and you get 1 or 2 pieces off of it, and they go, "Oh, this is great. Oh, wow. I never done that." All right, guys. Any questions so far?
Nope, everyone's building their board.
All right, we board building. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add, I'm going to add some crackers first, and then we're going to add our raspberries, and we still have to add meat, right?
Yes, chef.
All right. So here's our crackers. Wish y'all could taste them. And again, if you notice, guys, I'm just placing them, right? But my mind is conscious of the 3 things: appearance, height, texture, right? Now, we got our pepperoni in one chunk. That's why I tell you guys, ask for a chunk of pepper, a chunk, and that's a chunk, right? So what we're gonna do with this, we're gonna cut it in half. Again, set it flat, cut in half, straight down. Okay, notice I put my hand above the knife, didn't hold it to the side or anything like that, okay? That's important. Then we're gonna take it and we're gonna cut it in half again. All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna slice. Notice again, it's laying flat. And we're gonna slice this. Everybody still with me?
Yes, Chef.
Everybody caught up? Any questions? Okay. Now we're gonna take our pepperoni. And I'm gonna take, I don't have room to put the whole board on, but I'm gonna go ahead and layer the pepperonis in a nice little pattern here. You see how far a little bit goes when you're doing something like this? You can, I mean, you say, oh, that's a lot of stuff on there, but you know what? When you think about how many people that you can feed with this, anybody still sipping on their wine? No? How about sipping on the non-alcoholic beverages? All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna add some raspberries over here. Now again, any fruit you want, guys. You can have raspberries, blackberries, red grapes, green grapes. It's all, again, it's what you like. Nobody else. This is just strictly for you. Now we're gonna add our Genoa. Okay, Genoa. I'm gonna slice it. We're gonna stay in the same format. I'm gonna slice it in half again. I'm gonna slice each half into 3. Okay. 1 to 2 bites. Okay. We're gonna fill this around here. Actually, we're gonna cut this piece a little bit thinner, a little bit thick. And you can always go back and cut. Don't be afraid. If it doesn't fit, just go back and do what you need to do to fix it. Again, this is your board. Nobody else's. Nobody can tell you something's wrong. Nobody can tell you something's right. I mean, they can tell you if it's right. Ooh, that looks great. But they can't tell you that that's wrong. That's not good. I wouldn't do that. That's how it should be, because it's yours. It's yours and yours alone. All right. I should have cut these a little bit thinner, but see, I can go back and fix them as I go. All right. I'm gonna cut this one now thinner. There we go. All right. Any questions? Everybody still with me?
Yep.
All right. Getting down to the wire, right, guys? So the last meat that we're going to put on is the chorizo. This is sliced thin. What I'm going to do with these, I'm going to take them and I'm going to twist them, all right, into a little cylinder. And we're going to pop these right in here. Okay. You see how I did that? Everybody see how I do that? Just into a little cylinder. Okay. Again, nobody can tell you that this is right or wrong. This is actually how you fold tortellini too. If you're making pasta tortellini, the dough, fill it, and then you twist them. All right. And we can probably put another little flour on here. All right. All right. How's it looking so far, guys?
Beautiful.
Does it look good?
Yep.
Okay, so here's the last part. We got everything else going. You know what? I'm going to turn this off. I'm just going to turn this off. Okay, I'm going to take a red apple. Red apple, guys. Are we looking? All right. We already talked about coring and how it's the easy way to core, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut around the core. I'm gonna cut this in, not around, I'm just gonna cut it down almost in half, okay? I'm gonna set my apple down here. I'm gonna take my small knife. Now, what I'm gonna make an incision. I sound like a doctor, didn't I? Did I say incision? I'm gonna come in on an angle from one side, and I'm gonna turn it and try to keep it as even as I can. Come in on an angle on the bottom side. Same thing. I don't want to cut it in half. I want to meet that last one that I cut. Just want to meet it. Knife is sharp. Can't find it. All right. There we go. Okay. Oh, I don't want to cut it in half. That's okay. Again, same thing. All right. All right, I'm going to come back up, a little bit up, and I'm going to cut in. Watching my fingers. I want to keep them all. I'm starting with 10. I want to finish with 10. All right. No, it might be hard for you guys to see, but that's me. Pull those out. There we go. Okay. Okay. There we go. Beautiful. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting the apple into small wings, okay? And you'll understand what I mean in a minute. Don't want to cut the apple in half. I don't want to cut the pieces all the way through. I want to meet each side with the other side. Okay? Okay, we're going to add the apple to the board. We're going to slide it out. And this is what we call a bird. Can we see that? Not yet?
Yes.
All right. This is called a bird. All right, guys. I'm going to move this out the way, and I'm going to slide the other one in of our finished product here.
Short question.
Yes.
Somebody's asking, where's the chutney?
The chutney is coming over right now. Great question, because we have our tulip bowl for it. And the chutney is going to be on the side. It looks great. And again, remember I tell you guys, these dishes can cook a long time. We just want to keep them moist. This has been a great pan to use to keep moist. All right. And I have my tulip bowl. Where's my tulip bowl? There it is. Great. Add the chutney into here. So sometimes people will put bacon jam, or you can even do like a fruit jam or something like that. I just thought that a chutney would be kind of nice on this board as an accompaniment to the board. Okay, here we go. I know time is running. We're almost there. I'm gonna slide this over so everybody can take a look at it. And we're gonna, the alouette is there. Better for the chutney. Good. This is your charcuterie board. You can add your alouette, your chutney. So with your chutney. All right, guys. So again, how does that look?
Fantastic.
Does it look good?
Yes.
How does your chutney taste? I'm gonna take a little
Zainab
cracker.
said her chutney tastes amazing.
A little different. We got, but see, chutney is great because you can put it on your cracker like this. You can even put a piece of your chutney onto a piece of cheese and eat it. And because it is fruit, guys, you can put it with, you can dip your strawberry or one of your fruits in it also. I'm gonna taste this real quick. And then we're gonna talk about, oh my God. I'm gonna say thank you all for coming and spending your time with me, Chef Carrington, and my great production staff here at Cooking with Carrington. Guys, I want you to remember now, next month, we're gonna be doing our black and swai, which is almost like catfish, with our Cajun shrimp sauce. That is going to be amazing. It's going to have a little spice, a little dash, a little dab. It's going to look great, and you can pair it with a lot of different things. I'm going to step and grab me a little glass of my sparkling wine to go with my chutney. Oh my goodness. I want you guys to remember, and right now we're probably going to cut off, but we're going to stop recording, but we're going to continue to have a question and answer session for those of you who want to stay aboard. Those of you that are going to leave, thank you again for coming with us. Hope to see you next week. Tell about 8 or 9 friends. Next month. Tell about 8 or 9 friends. Tell about 8 or 9 friends. Come and visit with us. Again, thank you again for being here with Cooking with Carrington, where there's always a party in your mouth. And that's what I had going on right now in my mouth, is a party. That's right. Talk to you soon. Thank you, as always. Go in peace.